3 years ago, we were visiting family in Chicago, and it was around Father's Day. So my dad had gotten orchids over the previous couple years, and I went to a orchid nursery and bought him an orchid for Father's Day, and I was blown away by the thousands of orchids, and it was just beautiful. I have pictures of all of them. These are my 3 favorites, 1, 2, 3. This one was my very first one, so it's near and dear to my heart. This one I got 2 years ago, and it's doing really well. It's a good bloomer. It makes me happy and it's called the Clown. It kind of looks clownish, so it's very happy. And then this one I really like because I was able to rehab it and get it healthy again. When I bought it was sickly. Now I can't go to a store without buying one, unfortunately, and now I have 70 of them. But the more you get exposed to them, the more addicting they are. They're just a lot of fun.
I've always been a nature person. I grew up in a small town, and in that town, we made our own fun, and most of that fun was outdoors. The orchids are part of that. The orchids kind of really fired up big time during the pandemic because I was staying home all the time, caring for them and watching them flower. The springtime is fabulous because they are really mostly all in flower at that time, and it's just breathtaking to see the colors. Some of the colors are retina searing. They're so bright and so beautiful. Until I started going to the Orchid Society meetings, I just thought there was one kind of orchid, but there are many kinds of orchids.
Wrap this around the bottom and clip off everything on the basket. Now this section over here, the roots are actually covering it up, but I have a pretty good idea.
Once I started to meet and learn about the people here in Southern Arizona that are really wonderful growers, I wanted to be like that.
My name is Mark Dimmitt. I am a lifelong horticulturist. I have about 5,000 square feet of greenhouses and other shade structures where I grow several thousand plants in pots, including about 1,000 orchids. I got hooked on orchids when I was about 10 years old. I had a great aunt who was wealthy and had an orchid collection. You had to be pretty wealthy to have orchid collections then. On her dining room table, she had this species of orchid, which is called a spider orchid. And I had never seen anything like it. It was the most exotic, most beautiful plant I had ever seen. And I was just instantly addicted to orchids. And within a few years, I had found a few that I could afford to buy, and I had orchids by the time I was in high school. What changed the system was in the 1970s, the science of tissue culture was developed, better called micropropagation as is practiced today. But now you can take a tiny piece of an orchid and put it in a flask with culture media and grow thousands of them at a low price. So now you can go to a market or a big box store and find orchids today that would have cost you hundreds of dollars in the 1960s and 70s. I probably have the biggest collection in Tucson, so I'm not a typical orchid collector. This is not a hobby for me, it's an obsession. And orchids can be addictive.
They're kind of my babies. My husband calls them my orchids. We don't have children. So they're my little babies.
I've never heard that before, but that's a good one. That's a good one. Orchids, yeah. I have a few thousand orchids.
Of course, they become like family. Well, this is my first orchid, and she lived in spite of the odds. She shouldn't have lived because I took so long to repot her. And she's just a vigorous plant that keeps growing and blooming. Every spring she puts out great big white blooms, and I just love her.
It's fun to watch them grow, new leaves or new roots, and then bloom. It's been very rewarding, and I never thought I'd be able to grow anything. So it's pretty neat to realize that once you kind of learn a little bit, you can do more.